Hi, welcome back aboard the Earthmote. I'm Randall, and today I have a new product flip through for you. We're going to be taking a look at Carcass Crawler issue number 4. This is the official Old School Essentials zine from Necrotic Gnome and printed by Exalted Funeral. If you are a fan of OSR or Basic Expert D&D or Old School Essentials, you should definitely check out Carcass Crawler. It's a really great zine full of a lot of fun ideas, creative ideas, and expansionary content for Basic Expert. It's easily adaptable to a lot of other OSR systems, of course, but it's just a really nice product. We're going to take a look at it over on the computer. I think it'll be easier to flip through the PDF with my camera setup. But before we get to that, I just wanted to show off the physical copy. So it's a zine. If you're familiar with zines, they're going to be soft cover. This one is staple bound. It's got a really nice artwork on the front, a lot of vibrant colors, so it's really great. The paper quality is really nice. It's glossy. It's got a nice little weight to it, despite being, a soft cover zine. So 32 pages long. Without further ado, let's go ahead and flip through what's inside the zine. Okay, we're over at the computer. We have Carcass Crawler issue number 4 pulled up. Really cool, vibrant artwork of these cultists summoning this ooze monster. I'm sure that's going to go great for them. We can see that the cover art was done by Chris Malec. The writing is done by Chance Dudenak, Brad Kerr, James Spahn, and Gavin Norman. 4 really well-known authors in the OSR movement. They make really great adventures. Gavin Norman is the owner of Necrotic Gnome and Carcass Crawler zine. We can see in the table of contents, so we have new character classes. We have a couple of halfling based classes, the Hearth Singer, which is kind of focused on lore and sort of taverns and fostering good cheer. We have a halfling Reeve, which is kind of a ranger character inspired by the character Trotter from the early drafts of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, which ultimately morphed into Aragorn. So pretty cool there. And then we have an arcane bard, which is inspired by second edition's Jack of all trades style bard. If you're not familiar with advanced fantasy OSE, there is a bard class, but it uses druid magic. So it's a little bit different than you might expect if you're more familiar with 5th edition style D&D, which of course the bard is an arcane based caster. We got deities and cults, so some examples of them and some ways to swap out spells and make them more flavorful. We have some new monsters that lurk in the dark. We have some details on grimoires that mages might want to come across to learn new spells and use the magical tomes. We got some details on brewing potions, and then we have a small adventure called Noximander's Cave. So flipping through the classes, we have the Halfling Hearth Singer, which follows the halfling progression. So it's got a d6 hit die, maximum level of 8, just like the standard basic expert halfling. I think the XP required is the same as well. It does have martial aptitude. One really nice thing about halflings is they have pretty good saving throws. So it seems to follow that just like the standard halfling did. It's got some of the standard bonuses that a halfling does, the defensive bonus and the listening at doors, but then it has its own focus skills. So the Hearth Singer is kind of about friendship and learning lore and stuff like that. So it's got a lore skill, read languages, fostering friendship, which is kind of like a light charm effect. Those are D percentile skills, just like the basic expert thief, and they can make a tavern at any time when they have sufficient money. So that's kind of cool and flavorful. The Reeve is the ranger-based halfling. Again, follows similar progression, the D6 hit die, same level cap. It is martial, restricted to leather and shields, just like the Hearth Singer was. The difference with the standard basic expert halfling is I think they get armor, both chainmail and plate. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know they get chainmail, but I believe they also get plate mail, which is quite a benefit that these two do not. And this one requires a bit more XP than the standard halfling or the Hearth Singer, but it does get spells. So it gets some druid spell selections later on, if you're familiar with Advanced Fantasies druid class. And then it's got some ranger-like abilities, some foraging and stealth stuff, and some favored enemies. So some flavorful stuff there. I really like this artwork as well. kind of evokes these halfling rangers, sort of protecting their shire. As I was reading through it, it really made me kind of want to make a halfling based campaign and have these characters along with the standard halfling sort of make up some sort of party. I think that would be a lot of fun, even if it's a little bit more low stakes or more grounded fantasy and kind of that Shire type world like Tolkien had created. Next, we have the Arcane Bard, which seems like a quite powerful class. It's got a D6 hit die, so a little bit on the lower end, but it does have access to armor, both leather and chainmail, which is quite nice. It is a semi-martial class, so a little bit better than your standard casters. Not only gets access to spells up to 4th level when you get high enough, if you ever get high enough, but it also gets thief-like skills, so climb sheer surfaces, hear noises, pickpockets, and read languages. So seems quite like a powerful class. And it also follows the fighter progression, at least early on, I believe, 2000, 4000, 8000. So seems like a really strong class. I'd have to definitely try it out and see if it's something that should be tuned at all. But generally, they do a nice job with making their classes, and I'm not too worried about them. Next, we have some information on deities and cults. So it provides some information on these different deities that you could include in your games, and then also gives some details on what the worshippers might wear, what their holy symbols would look like, their garb, the scriptures and the prayers they might use, and then later on some marks of servitude. So as clerics gain levels, how they might look. So at level 1, they might have a white streak in their hair, but when they can cast 4th level spells, they might have gold irises. So a lot of good flavor there between the garb and those marks of servitude that would allow the players to identify how powerful these priest-like characters might be that they come across and sort of give some good telegraphing. So I really like that. And then it also introduces alternate spells. So one knock against the basic expert cleric is the spell list is pretty limited and it's very focused magic that might not make sense for a lot of different deities. So say, for example, you have a war god or a storms god. There's no real spells focused around that kind of make it seem a little bit dull. So this gives an option of replacing some of the different spells to add a little bit more flavor, kind of like the domains that they introduce in later versions of the game. I think that's a really nice addition to add a little bit of flavor to the cleric. So it gives some good templates here on either some deities that you could just rip wholesale and include in your game, or you could use this template to make your own. So really nice description there. So we kind of have a radiant god, we have a death god, we have sort of a war god or bloodlust god, and then kind of an underground god that focuses on like dungeons and traversing darkness and stuff like that. So very cool, very flavorful. Next, we have the Mage's Grimoire, which lists out a lot of new spells, some of which are welcome additions to OSE because, again, one of the knocks is that in Basic Expert, the spell lists are quite limited, including for magic users, which is bigger than clerics, but still not as big as you'd see in modern editions. So you see a lot of those staples return here, like Burning Hands, Featherfall, Shocking Grasp, Ray of Enfeeblement, Slow Tongue. So some new spells up through 3rd level. There's no new 4th, 5th, or 6th level spells, but maybe they'll include some in future editions of Carcass Crawler. Then we have the grimoires section, which talks about these different spells. So essentially, these let the players get new spells. That's how magic users get new spells mostly, is they find grimoires or scrolls, and they're able to transcribe them into their books. So these ones are just kind of flavorful examples that spell out some spells that the players could transcribe if they found these grimoires. And then the grimoire has some sort of light magic effect that the players could possibly take advantage of if they were to find one. So like the Conjuration of Smoke and Flame, as an arcane caster, they can ignite flammable objects by pressing this tome against them. So a little bit of flavor there, but also a little bit of utility in addition to the spells that they could learn from it. In the Strange Brew section, we get a lot more details and information on potions, so you can learn on how to create your own potions or hire an alchemist to do it for you. There's some different rules on buying potions if you decide to include the ability to buy potions in your campaign world. And then there's some nice information on potion creations. It lists out the different potions that are available in BX and then what the equivalent spell is and that level, and then sort of applies some rules to that, similar to how you would transcribe spell scrolls. This sort of gives you some framework on the cost of making the spell and how long it would take, and if you want to sell it, what the price would be there. Some nice details there on the potions and the spells they map to. And if they don't exactly have a BX based spell, you make some notes on maybe a AD&D type spell that is similar. Then you get some more detail on ingredients. If you want to make it so that if they want to make these potions, they got to go get monster ingredients. Some nice tables there. So maybe to control undead, you need some mummy dust. So great, they got to go fight some mummies and get some ingredients to be able to make those spells if need them for a particular quest or mission that they want to go on. Some information on sampling potions, so they can test potions to get a sense on what they might do if they are unfamiliar with them once they collect them in a dark dungeon. For example, if they sample a potion of speed, they'll feel accelerated motion, or for treasure finding, they might have visions of gold. Flavorful stuff there that you can include to describe how they sample these different potions. And then we got some random tables on describing potions. So if you're making your own potions or want to mix up the standard, red liquid healing potion, you can describe the container, the color it is, appearance and consistency, and the odor and flavor, and get a bunch of different varieties there. Next, we got the Terrors of the Dark section, which is an expansion on the bestiary for Old School Essentials. So adding some more monsters that are encountered in the depths of the underworld. We got the Grue, we got the Infra Chameleon, we got lantern moths and oil mites. I really like the artwork included in most of these monsters. Gives some fun flavor. I'm a big fan of the old school black and white artwork. We got the Pyrolator, the Strober, the Stygian Sphere, and the Torchbearer's Ghost. So those are the 8 monsters included. The final section of the zine is a mini adventure called Noximander's Cave. It has to do with this illusionist Noximander who decides to magically sever his own shadow. But in doing so, he kind of loses half of his consciousness to the shadow, and it sort of left him this kind of half feral man. And if the players are able to work with him or get his shadow reunited with him, then he is able to thank them, and he's willing to open up his library and provide these value and these rewards to them. But of course, they could just fight everyone and pillage it as well if that's what they want to do. But sort of a fun little dungeon. We got 17 different rooms. What's really nice about it is it uses a lot of the new monsters that are introduced. So we got the lantern moths, the Grue, the Stygian Sphere, the Infra Chameleons, the oil mites, all introduced in that previous monster section that are available in this level 4 to 5 dungeon adventure. Necrotic Gnome does a really nice job with their maps, so you can see the different layout, but there's really nice contrasting labels so you can see what room number you're in and quickly reference that. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of the pink, but the high contrast is nice. And then it also labels out the monsters and the other elements that might be applicable to the different sections of the dungeon, like the rushing water. So a nice little map with some kind of looping pathways, a few secrets, and different areas to check out. And that's the contents of Carcass Crawler issue number 4. Just some final thoughts on the zine. It cost me $10. I'm in the US, which got me the zine and the PDF from Exalted Funeral's website. I think you do have to pay for shipping separately, so be aware of that. If you just want the PDF, it's available on DriveThruRPG for $7.50, which I thought was a little bit steep considering this only costs $10, but they do go on sale quite a bit on DriveThruRPG, so maybe just add it to your wish list and wait for a sale on the PDF if that's all you'd like to get. It's definitely worth picking up. They always do a great job with it. A lot of fun and cool ideas in it, as we saw. So hopefully that helps you make your decision if you want to pick up Carcass Crawler number 4 or any of the other ones. They're just as good and flavorful. They're definitely worth getting as well if you don't already have them. That's going to do it for the review. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the review or you want me to do more product reviews in the future. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Check out Enchanted Nimbus, my monthly newsletter. Thanks for hopping aboard the Earthmote. I'll see you in the next one.